So you'll see some of the things that we've done today you'll find to be very natural and easy to migrate from the way that you've done them in Microvellum. A couple of those, for example, if we went in and said that we wanted to throw in some walls, for example, same kind of commands that you guys have, free wall construction, basic shapes, or from a polyline. And of course, if I wanted to be able to build walls and that kind of stuff, it literally is as simple as typing in what kind of numbers you want and entering the command. So that's pretty much the way that you guys would think about walls in Microvellum. We also have built a library of cabinets. We built categories and stuff very similar to that. Just again, not because the products are the same at all. You'll find some very drastic differences that are quite a revolution to this, but so that you would have familiarity. For example, if we wanted to be able to place some cabinets, it's just kind of the same basic way that you could select and say that, hey, I want to do this. Not only could you change size and those kind of things, but in this case, I'll even tell it that I wanted to build multiple of the same product. One thing that I want you to notice on the left-hand side is a really, really powerful tool. It may not seem like much here because we're just going to place it to the right side, but I could place something on top of this, behind it, below it, in front of it, to the left of it, or what we're going to do here to the right of it. So that makes it really, really simple for placement of things. Just to give us a little bit of data in the drawing, I'll also throw in and tell this that we want to have a cabinet here. Not only do we have tools for the placement of left, right, up, down, front, back, but we also have tools to be able to determine how it is that we want things to interact in relationship to other products. And so it just makes it very, very simple to work with. Let's go ahead and throw an upper into this as well. And so when we're beginning to select this, notice that it's giving me a height off the ground as I'm placing this, so it makes it, again, really easy to do. One of the things that I really like about this, if we drill into it, you can see that the banding and all that kind of stuff, all the details of everything that you want to do are displayed precisely within the drawings, and so that makes it really nice. That would be one contrast with Microvellum, that you can't even see edge banding or any kinds of things like that to be able to work with. If I wanted to do architectural submittals, I think of 2D drawings there, to where we might want to do plans, elevations, sections, details, that kind of stuff. We have a menu button for called drawing views, and this makes it really simple. Whether somebody's a guru at AutoCAD or not, I can literally window whatever it is that I want to be translated into 2D drawings, and those are now done, and we can see the level of detail again for these and all the gaps and reveals and all that kind of stuff. So we labeled that. Maybe we would also want to make something like an elevation view of this, so I could select that I want this, the direction that I want the symbol to be looking from, and it's going to generate for us then the highly detailed elevation drawings, and again, I will label that. Again, if we zoom in, we'll see not only the hidden lines for adjustable shelves and door swing, it's really your way, the way you want to have it, your line types, dimension styles, all that kind of stuff. Mine might not be exactly like yours, but here would be an example of something that would be significantly different than Microvellum. For example, if I wanted to be able to create a section, one of the bad things, I shouldn't say bad, just different, as you know, in Microvellum, if you want to be able to get section views, you got to go into a CutX file, and way, way to the very right of that, there's some 2D draw and section commands. So as an example of that, if I said that I wanted to be able to slice this from right here to here, you would only have one option for the direction that you might want to be looking at a section from. I'm going to tell this that I want it to look from the opposite side of what you can typically get out of your Microvellum. So now you'll see that sections are real and live using AutoCAD and such, instead of just fixed data within spreadsheets. If I zoom into this a little bit, you'll see that there's also really nice features for this that even show me the materials that are being involved in this. So from a checking, from an engineering, from a project management standpoint, it really, really does some nice stuff. Also, from a section standpoint, we might want to also be able to work across an entire run of things. So I'll make a section this direction and tell it that I'll label it B and to look at it from above in this particular case. Notice that I'm able to do plan sections across multiple products. That's something that you can't do, and you have to deal with all the things individually. Of course, we have other nice features in this. Again, this is just my setup for my dimensions and that kind of stuff, but you know, of course, auto dimensioning, all those kind of things. And same kind of thing if we were going to do for sectioning, we could tell this that we want to be able to get some of that stuff. One of the things that's often interesting when you're doing model space layouts of stuff, you might not always know how things are going to work and react as far as overlapping and stuff. In this case, we've taken care of a lot of those kind of things. I'm going to tell this that I want to be able to load a border in this case, and so now I want to be able to work within the view of it. So now I could literally say that I want to be able to link this view. If you notice, not only do I have the plan view on this uninterrupted, but you'll notice that now there's no longer anything else even within this view. So it makes it really easy for me to determine what it is that I want to contain within the viewports and to make those as the way that I want them reflected in the drawings or the 3D, whatever it is that you want to do. So again, your dimension styles, line types, annotations, all that kind of stuff is done and available for you. It just is a good way to be able to speed up the process. Does that first little element make sense?
Yeah, one quick question.
Yep.
When you displayed the cross section and you zoomed in on the material, and what if you notice at that point that you have the wrong material in there? Can you just double click on it and change it?
Yeah, so you could select on, not from the 2D drawing, but from the 3D, you could go select on any part. Let's do that as we're speaking. So let's say that we did happen to find that we had something that was unusual. So I could make a selection here at what we're going to show the part levels. Let's say that I wanted to select this shelf, and this shelf, just those three, but they're from different products. If you would notice that even though I selected three of them, I can now see the materials that are available for those. So I could literally come into this and say that I
Shawn,
want to use
my screen's not keeping up. You need to slow down a little bit. I'm assuming theirs isn't either.
No.
So let me go back then. So are we seeing this 3D elevation?
Yes.
Yes.
Very good. So what I wanted you to see is I could select one part. I could select multiple parts within a product. I could select multiple parts within multiple products and have control and change it right on the fly in the drawing.
That's awesome.
Okay? So the way I did that, if you didn't see before, is that I selected those three. I wanted to go to materials and I wanted to select it. So I literally clicked this button and it flips open, and now here's all my materials, my thicknesses, my different kind of stuff, and so I could select and say, nope, I want these now to become cherry. I apply it, and that's the material that they become. Notice one thing that happens. It says modification affect associations in the deal. Do we want to update the section? So if I say yes to this, not only did the material change for the database, but it also changed it in all of the 2D drawings, which means if I change the size of something, if I replace something, whatever I do, those 2D drawings are updated to reflect exactly what it is that we have done in this particular case. Do you happen to see the new material for that adjustable shelf?
Yeah. You know, that's a huge time saver because material thicknesses change, you know, frequently depending on which product we're working on, and to not have to go back and redimension something is really amazing.
Yeah, so this is all completely live in what it's doing. In the perfect world, what we want to do is we would want to go here to the system and order related variables. So you guys are familiar with material files and global variables, which I'm going to call a specification group. So we do those things as well. So if we looked at it at the job level, I could see my material settings, my case settings, and here's my case parts and all the materials that are set for being able to do those things. So I can control them on a global level for the order, but I also have the ability to go down to one edge of one part and change the banding for that one edge. Does that make sense?
Yes.
In this same file, I also have the ability to deal with all the construction or the global kinds of settings. So for example, here's the joint method that we might be using for this. So I can literally select and say, I want dowel, full top screws, dados, whatever it is we want to do, or back conditions, or whatever it is that you want to be able to set and control. You have full capability of doing so. Okay, so we did a little example there. That's kind of real basic stuff. That's what I think of as the baby stuff of this. It didn't surprise me that we could manage a library and to be able to place stuff into drawings and to get some stuff. But for the drawings to all be real and live no matter what's happening to it was very impressive. To have complete control over sections and the way that they all function was very big. But that's just the beginning of it. For example, do you guys have to deal with field verification?
Yeah.
As you know, Microvellum has tools for doing that, but nobody uses them because they don't work. Unless you just happen to get a run of cabinets to where you've got symmetrical products, it doesn't work. And so in WCAG CAM, let me give you a little example, and I'll do this in a way that I think maybe could make sense for you. I'm going to say in this case that I want to just place a two-door cabinet. And so I'm going to select this guy, and I'm going to give this a width, for example, of 36 inches. And I'm going to take beside this and say that I want to take a one-door cabinet, and I'll stick this to the right-hand side of this. And we will say that we want this to be, in this particular case, I want this to have a width of 18 inches. And I want to take a two-door again, and this is just to give for an example of what we're doing, and I'm going to tell this that I want it to be 36 inches. So now, if we were looking at this, I think that you would agree that we have 5 symmetrical doors, correct?
Yeah.
Very good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on a feature, and I switch to article mode here. And so the reason that I wanted to do that is now if I select something, for example, if I selected all 3 of these products, I would have the ability to be able to, just from being able to grab these, sorry, I got to turn on one more thing. Now I have an arrow that I'm able to select. So 2 things. Number 1, if I wanted to insert something else from now on, I'd never have to tell it where to insert it, because if that's highlighted, it will continue to do them to the side. But I also get this dialog, which is a cube. So for example, if I said this needed to change by 4 inches, I could just tell it the direction I want it to change, and all of the products are going to update and move for the ones that I selected. However, it's only going to do that for the ones that I do select, and it's going to make it so that the products that I don't select stay in their position, like if I've got a 2-door 88 sink base or whatever it is we do. With a quick select mode, for example, I also would have the ability to select on this and say, for example, that I wanted to be able to place something. Notice that it made it super quick to know the direction that it's able to move from, and so I could continue to do that kind of stuff, and it would work at rampant order of what we have. We also have something that I think is really cool in being able to work with this called the Visu Manager. So I could literally set the level of detail that I want for things to be displayed within the drawing. And so if we take a look at this, all right. So now if I take a look at this, notice the ultimate detail at the highest level, that even the edge banding is shown with the curves and all the kinds of stuff in it that are going to be reflective of the order, all of the hardware to exact drawings, all that kind of stuff. So now we're at the full detail of whatever it is we're doing. So again, just some really nice features that you can actually do these kinds of things. But again, even though I think it's nice because Microvellum can't do that well, to me it's not the most important thing. If I can move on a little bit to some things that I think will be interesting for us to see and understand. This was one that absolutely astonished me coming from Microvellum. I was used to having to work in spreadsheets and to write formulas, if then, if and, if or, Boolean statements for everything I wanted to do. And what I'm going to show you, or hope to show you, is that WCAG CAM is a fully parametric program in itself before I do anything with it, and it gives me the basic kind of tools that I think of to be able to do solid modeling. So I get the best world of a library-driven product and a solid modeling type product all in one. So when I told it that I wanted to make something from scratch, it basically recognized that I have this thing And so now I could, of course, give it a name. And so I'll call this a Roger. And so this Roger has a certain number of faces to it. So a top, bottom, a left, right, back, this kind of stuff. So if I want to, I can click into these and be adding parts, and I can have different kinds of strategies for construction into these. I'm going to remove this. So now I have sides. I have a sides, top, bottom, and a back into this. I'm going to go into the dividers just for a moment and show you the way that you've got complete control over this. I'm going to start off by dividing it vertically. I'm going to tell it I want to do that with fixed shelves, and I'm just going to use something as simple as 1:1. So now I've told it that I want the spacing to remain even. So if I change the height of this, that shelf would stay in the same place. If I wanted to have a couple of them, it literally would be as simple as me being able to add another space to this. If I wanted to fix or lock something in, I literally could use a definition like, for example, 14IN:1:1, and again, it wouldn't matter what size we have this. That's now what I have as a fixed element. I get to work visually instead of having to think about spreadsheets. For example, if I wanted to throw a couple of drawers into this, I can just click on it and work on it. If I want to work in this section and tell it, now I want to be able to divide something horizontally, I could do that real easily as well. Let's call this 12IN:1. We just fixed it at 12 inches from there. I could work inside of this area at this point until when I come to the face, oops, not a back, I want to put a face on this. I want to put a door on it. I want to hinge it on the left-hand side, and we'll tell this that we want to see how it opens and closes and that kind of stuff. And so even though this, again, I realize is a pretty simple kind of a deal, I just want you to see that you have the ability to get these kinds of elements into something very, very quickly. If I want to save this to the library, I say yes to it. I can pick then the category that I want to stick it in. I'll stick it in starters, and again, I'll call this Roger, and you could give it any kind of description or whatever it is you want. So not only is this available now within this project that I'm working on, but it's a fully parametric product that's available within this job as well. So it is here and available for me to be able to use. I want to give you an example of something for a moment. Wow, GoToMeeting has me locked up for a second. What are you guys seeing now, Raj?
Well, we're not seeing the backs of that line, and it looks like it put the front of that custom right there to the left of the line, and it's just showing the fronts on the line for some reason that you did for the field adjustment command.
Yeah, I have a little thing that is not letting me pick a spot for this guy. Once in a while, GoToMeeting will. Okay, now I can move and GoToMeeting again. So for whatever reason, it has me locked for just a moment. All right, I'm working on it. By the way, it placed it in that position because I had the auto position turned on for it, so that it was planned to stick it there. I just don't know. I can't get anything to move. No programs at all will move. Okay. GoToMeeting. Just a moment. I'm going to try to do a kill.
It looks like it saved it. I see it on the menu system.
Yeah, I haven't given it a name or anything. I never had it stop on me here, but it is AutoCAD is Windows. Come on, let go, whatever. Roger, I think it's GoToMeeting. I'm gonna exit the meeting and rejoin the meeting and see if that frees me up. I'll be back in just a moment.
Okay.
I think I can stay on the phone, but I've got to get out of it.
I don't know. Shawn, are you still there?
I'm here on the phone.
Okay.
I just had to get out of the meeting. I couldn't do anything with the GoToMeeting. So just a moment. Sorry about that, guys. Be back in just a minute.
Do I need to switch the presenter back over?
Yeah, as soon as I can get back on it, I'm almost there.
Okay.
To go find the meeting. Okay, I'm rejoining now.
Okay, I'm shifting it to you.
Okay, I apologize. We're going to go back just a tad here, and if you don't mind, I'll go a little faster. But I want to show you this.
I don't think I'm seeing your screen yet, Shawn.
I've clicked the button for it.
No.
Are you guys seeing it yet?
No.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, very good. I'm sorry to make you sit through this again. I'll go a little bit faster because you can do that. I was just trying to explain along the way, and I think I remember what we did, so I'll just kind of cut through the chase to get there.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
When you're in this screen and you're creating this product, and you're adding doors and drawers, when do you add the hardware? Or is it going to default to a specific hardware?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's a really good question. So what it's actually doing in that particular case is that it is how do I say this? It is actually allowing me to be in a construction rules area where I am defining for it the hardware and such that are being used, as well as the construction principles, the materials, the parts, all that kind of stuff. And so I'm not having to manually select that, but I'll show you in just a moment that you also have the ability to manually change out or determine any kind of hardware that you might want to select for a project as well. It might not follow within the global variables for it, and so we'll have that. So anyway, I think I'm back to where we were. Again, I'm really sorry about that. So we can see we've got all the parts and pieces and all that kind of stuff that are here and available. One of the things that I wanted to show you that was also, to me, a very, very interesting thing when I was working with this product for the first time. I want to look at this from, go here. Okay, so now hopefully we can see this. So we've seen that we can build a product from nothing, but one of the things I want to do is show you some of the features. For example, if I wanted to work, I've shown you at the part level where we change materials. I want to now work at an edge level. And so I just selected 2 edges, and this to show you some of the power of it. If I right-click on this and say that I want to change the joint that we're working on here, it was what I would think of as an inset or a butt joint. I could click a button, and this would be mitered. You'll see that it's getting ready to do this if I'd hit OK. But what I really want to show you in this case is how smart it is. Without me doing anything with it, I just told it to become an onset. So now that meant that it had to be smart enough to know that the side got smaller, the top got longer, and that it had to change all of its machining around. And so that's a pretty cool thing as well. I would also have the ability to work with a single edge. For example, if I said that I want to be able to move this, I'm going to tell this that I want it to extend out a couple of inches, and so I would have the ability for it to do that automatically. We could also work at this visual level indicator here to determine what it is that I want to show. And I'm going to turn this back down for a moment and just use AutoCAD for a brief second and say I want to make a polyline. I want this to be arced. I want to select a second point for this, and I'm going to tell this that I want it to come. And so believe it or not, I could also have the ability to do things with this, like being able to take this and to be able to change even the shape and stuff of this. So there's a lot of control. I also have a lot of ability within AutoCAD. For example, I want to draw just a circle. I want it to be right here. I want it to be this size. I want to, again, look at this from a southeast view. I literally could work at a part level and say, hey, I want this part, and this part, and I want these things to have the ability to take and work with this AutoCAD object. And so now I could define the depths, machining, all that kind of stuff that I want for this. So, and by the way, I can do this even across multiple products, just like I could change materials and stuff. Those are some things that, to me, frankly, it would take me, I think I'm pretty good in microvone, but to build that product fully parametric and stuff, and then to think about doing those kind of things, it could take a lot of time, lots of hours. And it's just kind of a start point of some of the amazing tools. For example, if I took this and just drew an AutoCAD and said, I want to go up at 30 inches, I want to go over at 15, up at 15, let's go 15 more, let's go 45 down, and we'll close this off. The only thing I drew, which you would recognize, is a polyline, but literally I could take this and say, I want to make an article from a contour. We're going to call this a just as an example. I could make that a plan view, a side view. In this case, I'm going to tell it that I want it to be a front view of something that I'm going to create. And here, we're going to get the visualization like we did before, only I'm going to be able to work with this differently. And so we're going to take this guy and put a back in it. Now I might want to be able to do some interesting things. I'll tell this that I want this to become a partition, and I want this to be at 12:1 to go from here. So now even if we were working in this, we would see that they're even offset in the directions for it. Again, the tools for being able to build stuff into this that you might want. Notice how smart it is. Even if I told this that I wanted some things like, let's say that I want some adjustable shelves, and by the way, you don't have to type all the time. If you've got linear divisions already built, you can just do that, and it will tell you the exact dimensions. You can change it. Notice that it even made the adjustable shelf the right size, you know, for the opening up above. I mean, it really is that smart, and I don't have to save it to the library. I can just have it here as part of what we're doing. And so I want to look at this for a moment in a view, and so we can see the way that it's working. Let's take this guy and look over here at it. Oops. And I don't know if you guys saw this, but I didn't get a right panel in that. And so that side was empty. And so now we have built that, and it is there. And again, we can turn up the visualization of this to be at whatever level that you might want for the level of detail that you want to be able to see within products, parts, and all this kind of stuff. But here's something that I want you to think about that again, was one of those things that I was really had a hard time even understanding how it was possible. But let's say that I wanted to select this article, and so now what could I do with that? I literally could modify even this contour. So if you notice this, there's the original polyline that I was working on. I literally could even change the angle or the size or the shape of whatever it is that I'm doing and do machining. And of course, I could make decisions if I've got a machine with a Flex 5 head on it, and I can do that, or I can change it over to angled cams or that kind of stuff. So do we understand that this has the ability to work graphically for you and to give you controls of things that you just would take forever to even attempt to accomplish in microvellum?
One question I have regarding hardware again. Does this software have an up-to-date library file that the current industry uses? For example, brass hinges.
Yeah, this is one of the things. I always had a vision that microvellum would grow big enough to be able to get the hardware suppliers to cooperate with them, but that never happened. In this case, there's thousands and thousands and thousands of users worldwide, and all these hardwares, the grasses and the hapelas and mepalas and all this kind of stuff are there. And so you get a thing that basically allows you as a customer to go in and download from any of those manufacturers that you want all of their latest stuff. And it's not just that there's a drawing for it. All the machining and everything is there as well. It's called iFern, and the manufacturers of the hardware keep it up to date.
That's a huge advantage.
It's a huge advantage. I also went past a while ago, I apologize. I wanted to select on something and let you notice that I can also do a connection scan on any kind of a thing, and so it's going to find all of the hardware that was available. For example, there was a variety of things, so I could say into this that I want to look at a supplier like Hafela, and I want to see the things that are available for them. I don't have downloaded tons into mine just because of what I do, but you'll see that if I start scanning through this, different handles and all their dimensions and all this stuff. So if you wanted to change out to something, literally you could just go, hey, this is the one that I want. Okay, and away we go. And now it's placing and changing the hardware for it. So it found, and again, let me do this connection scan. It found all of these different hardwares. And so on any of these that I wanted to change, something for it and say, this had this slide or whatever it is, so I could limit it down by supplier, see what I have in it, and to be able to select the one that I want. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's great.
Wait, here's the iFern, and so you can see what you've downloaded locally for it, or here's the online button, and when you do that, then you've got to, of course, put in your credentials and that kind of stuff to have the ability to go on and then download and brings it directly into your system. So this is just showing you the things that would be available. So again, you've got pretty amazing controls over stuff. Do you guys ever get into building things that I would think of even more complex than this, maybe things like die walls, nurses stations, cash wraps, custom kind of stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to show you, if you don't mind spending a few more minutes. I know Roger said only 40 in the demo, and so we're right at that. Roger, can I beg for 10 more minutes?
It's their time. I think they want to see it.
Okay. I want to show you something that I could never, ever do in a microvellum kind of a product. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to draw an AutoCAD, for example, and I'm going to say that I want to go, for example, I want to go 70 this way. Let's get a little zoom out going first, and we'll do this. There we go. Okay, I want to draw a polyline that is, let's go 78 this way, and let's go 80 inches this way. So the only thing I did was made the shape of something. Could be whatever kind of shape. But from this, what I want to do is I want to make a thing called the top view segment. And this is going to be a tiny bit boring at first, but I think you'll get to it. So I made a top view segment that was 8 inches. What I want to be able to do with this are things that I could never do in microvellum. So I just used the AutoCAD move command, and I offset it 3/4 of an inch. The reason I did is if you select on this, you'll see that I'm working, and I'm going to make this object that happens to be out of 3/4 inch MDF. So I wanted this to have a spacing for what I'm going to think of as the, we're going to have studs and plates, but we're also going to have skin. So for the interior skin, I wanted to leave room. I want you to see that I can also use AutoCAD command. So for example, if I said that I want to do a command like array, I could literally select this, and I'll tell this that I want to do a path. And so now I could literally select this and say that I want that to be at 16 inches. I'm going to use an AutoCAD command that is called explode, and you know you'd never want to do that with microfoam. I'm going to use another one that I'm going to call copy that you know that you would never want to use, and I'm going to add an additional stud there, and I'm also going to come here and add an additional stud. This time I want to take one, and I want to go from there to double it up. I want to draw in AutoCAD just a polyline shape that goes from about there, not trying to be super precise, but anyway, I've defined some of how I want my stud locations to be able to work for this particular object. And again, you also have the ability, to work with this and be able to change the principles of where you want the polylines and all that kind of stuff to work. While I'm here, what I want to also do is I want to define some side view segments. So I'm going to start, and I'm going to be thinking about the non-customer side of this, and I want to go up like 34 inches. I want to go in a couple of inches, up a couple of inches, and back out a couple of inches, and then I want to extend above that line about 10 inches. What I'm thinking about on this is that being the inside of this reception area, I might have wanted to actually be able to make this a recess for a granite top or some kind of a deal like that. I'm going to continue making some side segments here, and you might not be surprised that this one becomes 8 because I need my top plate to match the size of my stud. I'm going to go ahead and stick this on the right-hand side of the line, and let's come down like 22 inches on the customer side. Let's come in a couple. Let's drop down like 6 inches, back out like 2 inches, down like 14, and I'm going to want this to be a butt joint, and so I'm going to take this on the left-hand side of the line, and let's go in like 4 inches, and then I need to be able to build this. AutoCAD tells me 4.75. And I want to put a bottom plate or double up a plate or whatever you want to do for us. I'm going to take this for a moment and use the command called bpoly, or you might consider boundary, same kind of a thing. And I want to take this, and I want to be able to hide some elements real fast. I want to hide this and this and this. Sorry. Tried to do it without zooming. Hide elements. Let's get in here a little bit closer. I try to limit my zooming the most I can for the GoToMeeting purpose, but sometimes that's not the best thing. So now you'll see that I have access to this polyline. So I'm actually going to take this, and I'm going to tell this that I want it to go up 1/4 of an inch. Oops. I want this to go down 1/4 of an inch because I want to penetrate those. And even though I would probably make some dog ears on this for the speed of this, I'm just going to pull these in about 1/4 of an inch just to give a little bit of clearance for the router bit when it was making that. So now we can see these elements. So what could I do with this? I literally could come over here and I could say that in my object designer, I want to make parts from 2 views. I'm going to come in and select this polyline, and I'm going to select this, and I don't need in my selection this line or this. And so I'm going to tell it to go build all of the studs that I need for this unit. Those are all done. I'll just flip it up here so that you can see them in a vertical way. I'm going to select on these at once because I want to change the part definition that these are made out of, so I can select this and to be able to define for this what I might want these to be made out of. So, if you've got some particular things for it, then that's the definitions that they end up being linked to. And so you can do all of those at once. I'm going to flip this back up so that we can see what it is that we're doing. And so now I'm going to tell this that I also want to make parts from 2 views one more time. This time I'm going to select all of these and this polyline, but I'm going to remove from the selection this original shape that I made for the studs. I'm going to tell this that I want to be able to insert a new insertion point so it knows how to behave in reference to the original polyline that I created. We can look at this and see that we've now built this unit the way you want. However, there's even some products in microfoam that in theory you could build a stud or build some kind of a thing, but not in the way that you can work with this. For example, if I said that I wanted to isolate some elements and get this down to where I'm visually only dealing with a few of these, I now want to be able to take and work just with parts, so I'm going to select this plate and this plate. I'm going to take these and tell them that I want to join them together. So now if I said I want to isolate further, and you saw that I just had these selected, you'll see that that became one part instead of two. I literally could select this at the part level and tell this that I want to use a splitting principle along a polyline, and so now I've recut and shaped. So now if you get this, I can control where I want to break my plates and my skins and all this kind of stuff automatically on the fly. And so if we see all the elements, I happen to break that over the top of double plates, blah, blah, blah. So I used up my time, but hopefully that was at least a little bit of example of things that I don't believe that are even usable within microvellum that you guys are probably doing in other systems, CAD, and manually drawing parts and all that kind of stuff. Roger, there's a million more things that I could show. We haven't launched to production. We haven't connected to Cutright. You guys tell me what's important to you.
Connection to Cutright.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
We'd like to see the connection to Cutright, please.
Okay, very good. If you don't mind, just while I'm here, I'm just going to throw a couple of cabinets in, so we'll not only have these things going over, but let's also take this and throw in a couple of cabinets, so we'll see that we've got different parts and materials and all kinds of stuff for this. So now that I have a couple of cabinets in this, let's just go File, Save, Order As, and let's call this a Roger Shaw. And I'm going to tell this that I want to automatically generate program data and process out to Cutright. So it will take just a moment for it to save the order and all that kind of stuff. So it's evaluated the order is okay. I'm going to tell this that this is the output that I want. It's going to run through and process. And so the order is complete. I'll close this up, and it's going to make what we're going to call the CFG file for Cutright. So now if I said show my desktop and I opened up Cutright, Roger, I think if I wouldn't have had the GoToMeeting crash, I could have been done on time. Sorry about that.
It's all right.
Let's say import parts. And so now we have a Roger Shaw. We're going to tell this that we want to be able to bring this in. And so now all of this is available within Cutright. We'll see all the parts and pieces and this kind of stuff that we have for it. And so we can sort and to be able to deal with. We also have the ability, of course, because it's Cutright, to be able to select on this and determine what materials that we might want to use. I could take this, and by the way, I can do this automatically. I don't have to do this manually, but if I wanted, I could even direct the parts on the fly for destinations. But again, we could do this again with automatic stuff. So I'm going to come in over here, and I'm going to select this, and I'm going to say OPT for. I'm going to say OPT for that part, and I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to stick this, get out of my way. I'm going to stick this on a few things. Let's just go here, and we'll say paste. Now, we're not going to get very good optimization results with just those few, but I think that you'll get the hang of the fact that we are now going to, template not grained, okay. And so now we'll see that we're going to be able to process out to both. By the way, the reason I got that is that I told it that some of this was grained material, and because the length and width for it. But anyway, for the sake of this, if we wanted to look at the router, if you guys do any nesting, here's all the parts and pieces with their machining and stuff, grain match doors, all that kind of stuff, perfect grain, or excuse me, true shape nesting, all that kind of stuff. And if we wanted to see the saw results, they're here as well.
How do you handle the true shape nesting? I mean, the perfect graining.
Yeah, so what we do is we're communicating from WoodCat CAM into what is called templates within Cutright, so that they're part of a definition to know to keep the doors and drawers and stuff together. One of the visions that I have, constantly I'm pushing them on what I want them to develop and do. We're going to come up with some strategies for having that not require any patterns within Cutright, but it works really, really nice even the way it is today.
Currently, we have an issue where even though perfect graining is selected, it'll rotate the left door 180 degrees in cut right.
I don't know what that would be. You know, if you go into the templates of CutRight, you get to create those definitions. So maybe one of those templates that you have is not built correctly.
Okay.
I don't, honestly, I hate to say it, but I don't think that that's a microvellum problem. I think that that's the CutRight template problem.
Yeah, yeah.
I'd like to blame it on microvellum, but I don't think that one's theirs.
No, it isn't. I was just wondering if it was something that was easily, you know, you can fix easily, or if it would have that same issue with this software.
Yeah, I mean, so this is still the same CutRight that you have. We're just communicating to it, so you're going to need that template to be working within CutRight for sure. So it may be that we need to get Rob Donica or one of those guys on with you to take a peek at your template for that and make sure that it's working. I don't do the technical stuff, and so I wouldn't be able to show you that, but I certainly don't mind passing it along if that's something that you need help with.
Is it in here? Yeah.
So if you don't mind me asking, because I don't want to get in the way of you guys' discussions from here out, that kind of stuff, did we understand what I was trying to show? Did it make sense that this is not only does some of the things of microvellum, but it's like significantly more powerful and much faster and a lot easier to have control over?
Yes. Mm-hmm. One quick question: what does the file structure look like in Explorer compared to what we see with microvellum? Is it something that could be spread out, you know, across different folders for different projects, or is it in a specific location similar to microvellum?
I got you. Are you guys running 6.7?
7.
Gotcha. Well, in 7, the data structure, so it's an open SQL database, right? So the same is here, that it's an SQL database. So specifically when you're talking about folders and stuff, what do you mean by that?
Well, currently, all of the microvellum drawings are in a specific location where the database can reach it within the database folder. And, you know, other areas, project managers have their own files, their own structure that they keep their drawings in. And is this something that could be where these drawings that are created can be saved within those projects, or do they need to reside in a specific location?
Yeah, so here's just the default of what we're talking about. So I'm on my PC, my C drive, program data, HOMAG e-solutions, and so if I went...
It's not showing, Sean. Yeah, it is. Okay. I think you're still in CutRight.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So what I have open is just Windows Explorer, right?
No, we're seeing CutRight.
Oh. I don't have CutRight up on the screen, so I'm not sure what to say. Okay, you're right about this. Okay. GoToMeeting did another weird thing. Hopefully you can see it now.
Yeah, now I see it.
Okay, so just my PC, the C drive, program data, HOMAG e-solution, factory, and IM order. So now I would see all of the orders that we have for this. So for example, here's the Roger Shaw. So we would see that in the Roger Shaw, there's the drawing file. By the way, in our world, multiple people can be working in the same project, just not in the same drawing for it. So that's where the files for that would have existed. So then we can see that we also have the the FMX files and all those kind of things that we produced for CutRight here within that same folder structure. There are ways for you to be able to direct, of course, where it is that you want data, because as an example on my system, when I was placing data, I also had an automatic file. Since you guys use CutRight, I'm sure you probably have a V90 file. And so if I went to my V90 and I went to this WCC inch setup and I went to my import side of this, we would see that I have all these Roger Shaw files that were created just a moment ago. So I took and push the data needed to the various locations. So as a user, you'll have control over where you want all of those files to reside. So INI files are going to dictate that stuff, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm just wondering how it works with the current project manager's file process.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be nice to have that information reside right within the job folder with the rest of our information for that for any given job. So you're saying we could direct it there?
The drawing file, the CAD file?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's what I thought I showed you just a moment ago. So now, so let me show you this, and then we'll back up. So this is telling the data where to go, and so I happen to tell it that because I was going to be sending it to CutRight, that I wanted it to go to this location, but I could change that to any location I want. If we back up one more time to what I was showing you, is if we went to factory and we went to IM order, here is the folder for the order that we run that was called Roger Shaw, and inside of that, that's where the drawing is. See the DWG file?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So in other words, we can direct it to just about any folder.
Okay.
You have complete control over that.
I guess I have a couple of questions from the very beginning standpoint. You talked about a library. When would the opportunity come up to, you know, kind of build that library to our specifications? Or,
Yeah.
you know,
That's a great question. Every single company, you know, wants and needs that kind of stuff. So we built a certain number of variables, and so we, you know, we have our techs flip all those switches for you so that it builds close to what you want, and we use that as the example when we're training you. And during that training, we help you learn how to build variables and control how that data works. Some companies want to just send us their data, you know, their library the way they do it, and have us build a library for their stuff their way. Others want to learn and be in control over it. So however you want to work with us.
okay.
But you can imagine that every company wants it built their way.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
What we'll do is a drawing template with all of our annotation symbols.
Yeah, exactly. So you'll be using your own DWT. You know, you're going to want your title blocks and all that kind of stuff. There's some settings within the system. Some of them are AutoCAD, and then some of them are related to the DWT file.
The fact that it's going to be seamless. I like that.
How do your parts get what I call them, the machining intelligence? You know, I mean, you drew all that stuff, you pull it from the library, and if it's not happening in the background or in a spreadsheet or we're used to in Microrealm, how does it know what parts get doweled, what parts get bored for hinges, and you know the patterns and all that kind of stuff?
It's magic.
Sure.
I mean, it's something that, you know, from one library, you know, for one account is going to be different setup than from a different account, and we want to be able to manipulate the machining, you know.
Yeah, of course. And so we're going to use some things, like if you can see my drawing, for example, this would be a good one because people, even those that are going to use dowels, are going to want to have a different spacing for those dowels, as an example. And so that's called a descriptor file. And so you get to go in one time and give it, you know, the formulas to say, hey, if a part is this wide, then make the first hole here, be on these centers, do this kind of stuff, you know, back and forth through it. And so those things are there. Then the hardware itself, of course, is going to regulate its machining and stuff for it. Of course, you can change it to be something else if you want it to be, but it already comes with machining for it. The parts themselves are using what we call a part definition. So if we were looking at this, you know, at really a part-driven level for things, you'll see that it's going to have a definition for it that is working. Hold on a second, I just had somebody show up in my office. And so it can have the profiles to it, which is going to tell us about what banding or solid edges were for it. In this case, I meant to select the part. That's why I wasn't seeing what I was looking for. So it can have a type that it's working for. It can have a construction. So, for example, if I clicked on this and said that I want to make this a different construction, or the definition. And so when we get down to the definition of the parts themselves, it can be selected by materials, cores, edges, and then we can also get down into the machining data that exists for these. So instead of having to think about, think of it this way. In Microvellum, there was a term called a common parts file. Are you familiar with that?
Yes.
And so you could use a thing that they called library designer. And so here, I'm able to define for this the whatever the drilling, the grooving, any contours, whatever levels of machining that we might want to be using for something. If we went to something like a side, you can imagine that that's going to have different kinds of things to it than these parts. But whatever it is that you choose, and so if you need to make another one, you just give it a new name, and so that could be similar, so you say save, and so now you have a new one of these in it that you could just make changes to. When this comes to the final side of this, it comes down to construction rules, and so you can have multiple construction rules that are set up, and you can just select whichever one of those that you want applied to whatever product that you're building.
Here's another question. Are you able to manipulate one or two dowels? For example, if you find that your dowels on each end interfere with a leg that's attached to the bottom that has through holes, and you don't want the dowel to poke through the through hole, can you set it up so that you can manually move that front or first or last dowel?
Yeah, so there's a number of things that I didn't show you guys. You know, obviously in going through a program of this magnitude, we could be here through the rest of the week and not get to all of them, but there's some cool things that I think will be helpful for you to potentially see. In this case, I'm going to say that I want to select at a level like this, just to give you an example. Wow. I don't know what. Are you guys still hearing me?
Yeah.
Okay, GoToMeeting is doing something horrible with audio. I'm going to try to turn this.
Okay, I re-entered this from the computer audio. Are you able to hear me this way?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I don't know what was going on with that.
Yeah, we can.
Roger, can you try to mute yourself?
I hear the echo. I'm not sure where it's coming from, if it's coming back over their mic or not. They are using the computer rather than a phone. Are you using earphones, Shawn, or are you using your computer?
Well, I had been dialed in until it sounds like whatever it is, maybe it's not on there anymore. But I tried it. I was always on my phone the whole time, and I just moved into the computer hoping to make it better. So.
Well, I'm hearing you fine. I don't know how they're. Are you guys hearing them okay now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Whatever it was, I couldn't even concentrate on what it was that we were doing.
Moving a dowel.
So there's all kinds of things. I can try to go out and come back in again.
It's seemingly intermittent.
Seemingly intermittent.
He's coming back.
Nice.
Okay, I'm back in the meeting now.
Yep.
Okay, I made you the presenter.
Okay, I'm so sorry, but I got so distracted. I don't even remember where we were. Please ask the question again.
We were just wondering how you can selectively move a dowel that may be interfering with other machining.
Yeah, so you can move literally any kind of an object that you want. That's why I had done that. I'd forgotten why. So literally, you know, for example, if you wanted to say, I want to move something, you can just pick and choose, you know, a distance that you might want it to be from, you know, in this case, I could pick an absolute height from the top to bottom, whatever it is that you want to do. And so we'll just say that I want this at, you know, 22, just to give as an example. You'll see that that piece of hardware moved automatically for us. Same kind of thing is going to apply for machining, even though what we're dealing with is a situation where it's reading from stuff. It can overwrite what it is that we have within the database, and then if we can do a generation of this, so whatever you get in whatever it is that you see, there's not something like the spreadsheet that reverts it back. In Microvellum, if you use some kind of a CAD to do that, it would never allow you because it would read that spreadsheet again, and then you'd be in trouble that you couldn't do anything with it. But in this case, it gives you the abilities and controls to do that stuff.
What if, can you adjust the depth of the drill on the face for the dowel on the fly? You know, for example, maybe one cabinet has a different, a thinner material on the end panel.
Yeah, so you could make your descriptor file automatically do that based on its material itself. So it would know then that would be affected by the depth of it. The other thing that you can do, which is this is what I would think about doing now that you've asked me that, I would say a connection scan, and I would say in this particular case, I want to be able to change to a, you know, to this dowel that's only this long, or whichever ones that you want, because probably I think that you would agree, if I'm using a different depth, I'm probably going to need a different piece of hardware, or the dowel's going to be too long for the hole.
Wouldn't it just go deeper into the adjoining board? That's what we would do.
Yeah, I'm sorry. You know, I hate to say this bad, but you know, Roger and I are on the sales side of things. Probably better off if you guys are still needing to get with Larry related to product stuff. I mean, he trains people, implements them, does that kind of stuff, and so I don't personally set up customers' data, and so I know how some things work. I just don't want to guide you into what's not the best principle for that kind of level of detail.
But the bottom line is that you can change the size of the dowel, or you can have it automatically adjust to the thickness of the materials.
Yeah.
There's two different strategies to solve that question that she asked.
Okay, and then one of the other things I'd like to bring up is integration. And it goes back to cut-right in our automatic labelers and the label designs, as well as the report designs that go out to the floor with the job packets. So are those customized, or
Is it going to automatically link to the automatic labelers on the weekly machines? Going through cut-right?
Yeah, the information is available just like for the labels that you currently have, that you've currently deployed, or where you can change them. In terms of what reports you're currently using, it's Word, it's Microsoft's report writer. It comes with a packet of reports which can all be adjusted, or you can have custom reports made for you.
They're pretty easy to design.
If you know Microsoft Report Writer, it is. If you don't, then you might want to sub that out. We have people that do that. It's up to you. The flexibility and the doability is definitely in there, in the package.
Does it also print a product label?
Yes.
Here's a kind of another question. You know, with Microvellum, when it creates, let's say, the product detail report, it plops a generic cabinet meta file that, you know, when you have a custom cabinet, even for, you know, hospitals or simple projects, it doesn't necessarily represent what is actually being built. With this, or is it easy to apply an image of the exact product?
For your custom reports?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you can click on the custom, you know, let's just assume that 100% of your catalog is custom. You can click on any item in your drawing and make it a meta file instantaneously, and that's what can carry on into the report.
Because it can kind of be time-consuming in Microvellum. You know, what we end up doing is creating a meta file for every product with every new project, just so that this new, you know, they get an accurate image of what the product is, the completed product should look like.
Yeah, this is a much more, to me, it's much more user-friendly. Just there's a command in there, you just click on it. That's the meta file that gets associated with the reports.
What about individual part drawings?
There's a report in there. This Raj, by the way, this is Shawn. There's a report in there that you can draw the draw the article, and then it'll draw every single part and have it dimensioned off associated with that. So it's really good for your one-off world up there. It does it automatically, and it's all totally dimensioned off. And for your complex products, I think that would be pretty helpful. Furniture companies love that.
What about the database for materials? Is there one or two databases?
Well, there's a database in Cutright, and then there's a database in WoodCAD-CAM. So if you look at it from that perspective, there's two, just like you have right now.
You just import materials into Cutright as you import your project with those materials.
Which one overrides?
Well, you don't overwrite what's in there. What we have in Cutright as, you know, a standard library are materials that have specific instructions.
No, I know. I'm talking about this for going down the road, including other things. Is there one that always overrides the other one? Will give you an error if the material's not in one or the other?
No, it doesn't overwrite. When you have new material coming out of WoodCAD-CAM, it queries you and says, hey, I'm not finding this in Cutright. What do you want to do? So you'd have to add it in Cutright. If it matches up, then it'll just go forward.
How does it handle things like sheet layouts? Is it going to be a breakdown of the nested parts and a number of sheets that need to lay up?
It does it exactly the same. I mean, the sheet layouts and all of the patterns that are done are just what you're doing today in Cutright.
Well, we usually also provide a report from Microvellum that is a little bit more, you know, it's easier to read. It's a format that they're used to. That's why I was asking how easy it is to design custom reports.
Well, I mean, if the data is in the database, you can get it out in a custom report. That's a fact. I don't know that. I mean, for doing your sheet layouts, if that's going to be in wood CAD/CAM. I don't, you know, it seems to me that that has to be generated in CutWrite, and then you have those sheet layouts. But you're not going to get a sheet layout out of wood CAD/CAM's SQL database. Am I correct about that, Shawn?
I had to dial back in. I'm sorry, guys. It kicked me back out. But yes, we're only exporting the parts at that level to CutWrite, and CutWrite is either nesting or optimizing, so we would never see a layout of parts in wood CAD/CAM.
So it sounds like one of the differences between this software and Microvellum, we would have to process an entire project or bits and pieces of it in Microvellum first, then pull it up in a CutWrite and do that process. In this case, we're just doing all the processing in CutWrite.
You wouldn't be nesting in wood CAD. Wood CAD goes with the
Yeah, that's what I was kind of wondering. Do we get a bill of materials at all with CAD/CAM?
Yes, you get a bill of materials with wood CAD/CAM. You just don't get the actual nested layout out of wood CAD/CAM. We flush the parts into CutWrite, and then CutWrite generates the layouts and patterns. You know, oftentimes you're not even sure whether you're going to run the data through optimization or nesting. When you put the, you know, one of the big advantages of CutWrite is that you get that screen and you can maneuver and manipulate how you want to make those parts. You can have predefined paths of how, or routes of how these parts are going to be made in wood CAD/CAM, but at the end of the day, when they hit the manufacturing floor, that is pliable in terms of you get that one screen. I don't know if you remember, Shawn, changing some of those to go to the optimization and some of them going to nesting, but that's what you have with wood CAD/CAM. Are you currently running everything through wood CAD/CAM or through CutWrite right now?
For the most part, yes. Anything that has an automatic label applied to it.
Okay, so you're in so nothing's going to change on that end.
What's the typical implementation time and learning curve?
I could not hear that. I didn't understand that question. What was that?
What's the typical implementation time and learning curve to where we can be using this effectively?
Given that we've got 3 people that are
Very.
that understand parametric software and
Actually, 4 with John.
I'm sorry about the numbers, but the Frank's
Well, I mean,
question.
you know, my thinking on it is that you basically have 3 different profit centers there. You've got the architectural millwork shop, you've got the restaurant shop, and you've got store fixtures. So, you know, if we're going to try to do a full-blown conversion of everything, and we're going to be doing the 2D drawings with the output of the solid modeling technology and do everything, I think it's going to take at least 6 months. And that's throwing a lot of resources at it and working hard at it. There's no way I could possibly predict what it's going to be, but if we were to get all that done in 6 months, I would feel pretty good about it. What do you think, Shawn?
Every company is different. You know, some are super busy and they can't allot a whole lot of time to it. Some want to have a complete system ready to go before they turn the switch. Others can devote some time and effort to it, and that they look at a project like this and say, hey, we're going to, you know, bite off customs or whatever kind of an area to say, yep, we've got a phased approach into it. I think that it's a deeper discussion to be able to look at and say what's most important and what resources can we apply, can you apply, what do you want us to do versus you do. But certainly there's things that do take time. I mean, just even from the placement of an order, shipping, you know, software, scheduling installs, going through pre-training materials, scheduling initial online basic training, starting to set up and get prepared for machine connections, on-site training, integration of your data your way through your manufacturing output. You know, there's a lot to be done. I hate to say 6 months. I hate to say 3 months. I hate to say anything because it can be different for every company, and a lot of the variables are on your side, even more so than ours.
We found where best with microvellum is doing the phase where we, you know, the easiest stuff first was like GC projects to run through, and then just start building the in-house account libraries.
Would there be any issues with running parallel systems while we integrate, as far as, you know, machines? Would there be any issues with those reading codes and everything?
What does it dump out to cut right as far as file formats? Is it still doing the DXFs and the PTX and the WMFs like microvellum does, or is it passing the info in a different way?
John, the question was, is what kind of formats is it using to pass to cut-write versus microvellum?
What is WCAG CAM passing to cut-write?
Yeah, the data, what's the difference between the data that WCAG CAM passes to cut-write versus microvellum passing to cut-write?
Well, typically, microvellum isn't used for any nesting purposes, so the only thing that I'm aware of that microvellum is passing to cut-write is called a PNX file. And because we are passing both data for cut listing, but also passing data related to the machining of parts, you know that, we're passing DXF files plus a PNX file.
Yeah.
Does that make sense up there?
Yeah, that's actually the same thing that microvellum is doing for the nesting. It's the DXFs and the PTX.
Yeah, it's PTX.
So then, Corey, you could probably run parallel.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that I can conflict between the two systems.
Probably in a different file, probably.
Yeah.
Next step, Frank? I guess the next step here is for us to put a list of questions together that we haven't asked and get back to you, Roger and Shawn, and also the demo on the items that I guess Larry was going to do with Sync. We still want to do that at some point when he's back up and healthy.
Okay. Is that Don talking? Or Frank?
Yeah, no, it's Frank.
Okay.
So I think next step is on our side here to sit and discuss and make a decision to take the next step, to stop, and then how we want that next step to look.
Okay.
Oh, one quick question I have, going back to the online hardware library availability. Is that something included with the package, or is that like an add-on?
It is a subscription, and you get the first year of it with the purchase of the software, and then it's a subscription afterwards into the future. And I'm not sure what that subscription costs because most people don't get everything they need the first year, and then we haven't sold anymore. I don't know. Shawn, do you know what that costs?
I'm sorry, can you ask me the question in detail because you were answering, I stopped paying attention?
The subscription cost for iFern after the first year.
I have no idea. I've never been asked that before. It's included. I'm assuming that that it's way less valuable when it's only you know, a few occasional things that you're doing, but I'm sorry, I've never been asked that, so I can't even tell you. But I would think it's a minimal thing. I'd be surprised if it's over $500.
Yeah, I haven't come across it yet. Because people are they don't use it as much as you might think. They use it at first to get everything they're using, and then it hadn't come up. But does that answer your question?
Yes.
Right.
Okay. By the way, I have recorded this session. As soon as we stop, it'll start compiling it, and when I compile it, I'll send it up there to you guys in case you have any more questions. You can review it, take a look at it. I think we've shown you a lot of the differences between microvellum and this, but what you don't see is that this is right in line with your people that you're buying your equipment from, and those guys are working in conjunction and truly working towards Industry 4.0, and that's what's on the front table in Germany, and WoodCAD CAM is right in the middle of that. So and so is Cutright. So it's certainly for the future it tends to scream harmony with where you're at in terms of equipment. So I think it's a wise decision to give that serious consideration long term.
Well, good. Thanks so much for your time today, and I'll probably be talking to you within the next couple days.
Okay. Thanks a lot, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Shawn. Bye-bye.